Afternoon. Sophie, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. Nice to be with you.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us. And for anyone who's watching this, this is Sophie Taylor Barthorpe from Simply Learning Tuition, which is a great company working with school notices. And the reason for this chat really is just to find out a little bit more about your business, how parents should get hold of you, why they should get hold of you, I guess, and just to chat about how it's been in the last year and a half. I hate talking about COVID because it's sort of over-ish. But anyway, so first of all, just tell us a little bit more about SLT. You know, why was it born? When was it born? What does it do?
Yeah, so Simply Learning Tuition was founded in 2009 by my director, Nathaniel McCullough, who was a private tutor who was essentially so in demand that he needed to bring some more tutors on board.
Right.
Nathaniel passionately believes, as do all of us at SLT, that working with tutors with previous experience is very important, as well as tutors who are passionate, professional and knowledgeable. So throughout since kind of 2009, we've kind of worked as hard as we can to try and professionalize the industry kind of a little bit more.
Yeah.
Nathaniel's been on the body of the Tutors Association for professional standards.
Yeah.
We have kind of steadily grown since then. And I'm pleased to say that lots of the tutors that we represent have actually been with us since those coffee shop meetings in 2009 as well.
And so what's at the heart of SLT? You know, what makes you, there's a lot of tutor companies out there.
Yeah.
It's probably quite complicated, not complicated, but confusing for parents who to choose, why to choose them. What's different about SLT, and why would they come to you guys?
Yeah, so as you said, there are lots of different agencies out there, and we've noticed in particular that over the last kind of 10 years or so, the market's become even more saturated, both with agencies and tutors who are going it alone. For us, we have a really carefully picked team of education consultants who work to match tutors that are right to the individual child. So as I mentioned a bit, you know, we really care about the experience that each tutor's got, their qualifications, their background, their passion, their empathy. But not every tutor's right for every child, and vice versa. Not just because of any particular needs that a child might have, whether it's dyslexia, dyspraxia, or what they're preparing for. But in terms of teaching style, some adults are better at working with certain children than others, and we've always found that at school, no, there isn't any choice. Your teacher is your teacher, but why not make the most of being able to work with a private tutor that really works for that child?
Yeah.
So we really pride ourselves on having quite in-depth ideally meetings, if not of conversations with parents when we first start working with them,
Yeah.
to make sure we're recommending tutors who we think are a good fit.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so let's get through the COVID topic, because it's been, I'm guessing that you were very, very busy in the last year and a half, 2 years. What, in your experience, what were the issues that parents were faced with, and how did you feel that you best helped them?
Yes, so it's been obviously a very challenging couple of years in education. I'd say the first huge challenge was, oh my goodness, my children are at home, and so am I. We have one of our specialisms has always actually been in homeschooling, and I personally work with lots of homeschooled families kind of every year, particularly for GCSE and A-level students.
Right.
Unfortunately, those final year GCSE and A-level students were obviously particularly affected by COVID in that first year with the cancellation of their exams. First of all, our first challenge was trying to get across to parents what we know is a good kind of homeschooling routine, but also bearing in mind that there aren't tutors necessarily always going in. Most of that was online, obviously, and bearing in mind that, yes, we can talk about what a good homeschooling routine is, but there's also parents at home trying to work, which wouldn't normally be the case. So tailoring all that advice, but being practically aware of what was going on at home. Organising tutors to support outside of those Zoom lessons, making sure that children weren't spending too much time online, being very mindful of the situation. I think for us and for parents, that was quite a careful balancing act. Then with our GCSE and A-level students, as I'm sure lots of parents are aware, the advice changed dramatically within weeks, days, minutes as we got towards results day in terms of what was happening with exams. So digesting all that and communicating that to our parents was paramount. We found that when the exams were cancelled, lots of tuition was initially cancelled. And then parents realised, a bit like what happened this year, that actually students were going to be assessed in one way or another. And I think some of them underestimated, particularly our independent school parents, how much the school were actually going to assess their children through some form of exam, even if it was not by a regulated exam board.
Right.
So it was a lot of balancing going on in terms of making sure that children weren't feeling too overwhelmed with everything that was going on and too online, but also ensuring that they were still ticking those education boxes that they need to really. So yeah.
And how I totally get that, but how do you think their attitude to education was affected by COVID?
So I would say there have been two distinct camps in a way. I do think that despite, me obviously working in the world of supplementary education and often working to prepare students for, really important final exams and entrance exams and things, I do think that some parents perhaps have been able to take a little bit of a step back. And although they're across the board, there is no doubt that there is a concern about education provision. And I think some parents became more involved in their child's schooling than ever, in terms of having to filter, particularly with the younger students, having to filter, organising Zoom, speaking to teachers and things. Some of them may have realised that they didn't get the support from school that they perhaps had hoped they would have, and wanted more tutoring to support with that. Others, I think, particularly if they were able to travel to a second home or live elsewhere, almost were able to make the most of the situation and perhaps take a step back from too much formal education. And we are now working with families who have had huge lifestyle changes, and decided to use private tutors who live with them in Thailand or Switzerland, for example, or work with tutors online who've got quite conscientious children who do lots of work outside of lessons and have had a bit of a lifestyle change. So there has been kind of two camps, so to speak, in that regard. Attitudes have definitely changed.
Definitely. And I find that with our business, we've gone through COVID, we changed completely. Well, we didn't, but we did a lot of stuff very differently. And actually what's nice is a lot of the good stuff has kind of carried on through. So we're doing a bit of a balance of everything. And I'm assuming online tutoring became a bit of a forte of yours. And how does that work with SLT?
Yes, it did. So we actually already had quite a large percentage of our students online from overseas. We also have quite a few students in Singapore, and I'd say most of the tutors that we work with had at least a few of their students online. So what was really great for us is that we weren't introducing any tutors who were completely brand new to teaching online, and parents that we work with could be safe in the knowledge that the tutors that they were working with were able to go online. So all of the tutors that we represent have access to online whiteboards, but as we always say, they're the experts, they're the ones at the coalface, so to speak, and they're recommending all sorts of extra kind of bits of tech that parents can order fairly cheaply off Amazon and things like that. I know a lot of the time students are kind of writing and they share screens together. So in terms of engagement, I would say the engagement that our online tutors were providing online pre-COVID was very good. It's probably got better. Because there was no, okay, I'll meet you face to face to explain this one, or etc. But yes, we already had quite a good kind of online presence and tutors with online experience, which was good.
And do you tell me, do you help, we deal with nursery, prep, senior schools and all that. Do you work with students looking at sort of 11 plus and 13 plus kind of entrance exams, stuff like that?
We do, and that's where even kind of a long time ago, probably before even Zoom was used much, when everyone was on Skype, that's where lots of our international online tutoring started, really, with students looking from overseas to come to a boarding school at 11 plus or 13 plus.
Right.
Yes, we do prepare for a lot of that.
And what about homeschooling? I know you work in that area as well.
Yes. So we do introduce tutors for homeschooling for all ages. We've worked with students at all ages, whether it's because they weren't quite ready for reception, or most regularly we work with kind of students probably from year 9 who may have decided that perhaps for their GCSEs they are going to be homeschooled, obviously in conjunction with their parents. For whatever reason, school might not be working for them, whether that's maybe a special educational need that hasn't had enough attention, or too much pressure, or difficulties at school. We pride ourselves on being able to take students all the way through. So setting them up with a completely tailored program with tutors who can teach them each of their GCSEs, registering them for their exams and preparing them to sit them. It's usually a short-term solution. I think that the view for us is always to get children back into school, but often by the time we get to GCSE or A level, students may have decided that they're just going to do those 2 years through the homeschooling, and then we've had wonderful success stories with students going off to college or university now, who we're still in touch with, who weren't able to leave the house for one reason or another, who are now thriving at university just through that 2 years of switching their education up. So it's
amazing. It's amazing how much has changed, and also how different people need different solutions, I guess.
Yes.
So tell me, you also your education consultancy, what's that? Tell me a bit about that.
So it's essentially a advisory and placement service for parents who are looking for anything from nursery placements to university placements.
Okay.
A lot of the time we're working with London-based families who maybe just need a little bit of advice that perhaps cuts through some of the conversations that they might have in the playground or at coffee, to get a kind of objective and informed viewpoint from someone who doesn't know them, but can hear and meet their child and advise where might be best, or things that they need to think of. We also work with a lot of international families who may be relocating, or again, who've perhaps been in the UK for years at a lovely local prep school, but when it comes to moving at 7 plus or 11 plus, are feeling a little bit disillusioned about what the next steps are, or what might be best. For university, we do kind of UK, obviously UCAS placements, Oxbridge, and also US placements as well, again with families that already live in the UK, and international families as well. Okay,
it's interesting. So you really cover everything, all age groups, start to finish.
Yes. So yes, I mean we've got parents who we've worked with since our founding, really. Yes, for various different aspects of the services that we offer for various children.
It's fascinating because it can be, I'm an old bloke with children. I've got one left about to leave school, so I've kind of been through it, but it can be really confusing, and where to turn next or where to aim for is always a difficult question. And I guess SLT offer a really good solution as far as that's concerned. Tell me, how would a parent watching this get in touch with you? What's the best way to get in touch with SLT?
So if they've got the time, the best way is to give us a call, because one of our education consultants is available on the phone. They might be able to give you some really useful advice within a few minutes, and we're always delighted to speak to every parent. Otherwise, we've got a contact form on our website, or you can send us an email to inquiries@simplylearningtuition.co.uk, and we can arrange a call with you.
Perfect. And the website, simplylearningtuition.co.uk, that's got all the details everything they need to know.
Yeah.
Brilliant. All right, Sophie, look, I won't take up any more of your time. Thanks so much. Really interesting, and good luck. I think it's a great niche in the business. And as I say, I wish it was around when I was a bit younger.
Thanks very much.
All right, Sophie, nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
See you later.